So we have the Wall Street, the PowerBook G3, the brick itself. So this is from '98. Let me show the. I couldn't actually find a Jobs clip. I'm not sure if he revealed this on stage or if the footage has just been lost. Oh, actually, that was a G4. We do have a clip actually of this one. So this is Jobs, not in the black turtleneck. He's gone for more business look in this clip. But there he is talking about the new PowerBook G3. The word new, and seeing that is with grainy footage is interesting. And that was him revealing it on stage at the conference. Tris, can you tell us a little bit about the G3, please?
So the G3 is a fascinating laptop because it's a complete departure from where Apple are now. So instead of 2 ports on your laptop, you've got about 1 million ports. So I'll show you some of the tricks this laptop has. So the idea of it being a Wall Street laptop was that you could get on a plane, perhaps Concorde at the time or something, and you could switch out the expansion bays. So you could have 2 batteries if you wanted it to last 9 hours and last over a long haul flight. Or in this case, you could say, actually, I want a zip drive. I don't know if remembers these. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love the disc that you get in the zip drive as well.
Yeah, zip drive, floppy drive, you could change that out. And then this one was the very first.
Oh, look at that thing.
Yeah. And then it was the very first laptop to have a DVD-ROM drive.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I haven't seen a DVD thing in a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
DVD
So you
drive.
can play movies by putting in a CD disc.
But the DVD as well, it was so intense on this computer that it had to have an expansion card to give it more video RAM to actually be able to do that. But yeah, it ports all over it. So obviously you got PC expansion cards here, Ethernet. So it's got about 1 million ports. I'm trying to hold that up to the camera.
It has the famous rainbow Apple logo as well.
Yeah.
Which we don't see anymore, do we?
No, we don't see the rainbow. I think they should bring it back. It's quite cool. But what's also interesting is the Apple logo is the wrong way up because it wasn't trying to a status symbol at the time. It was just a laptop.
Sure.
So laptop upside down, rainbow Apple logo. And also it's Apple's kind of foray into kind of product placement because a lot of TV shows, famous films, if you think of Independence Day or Sex and the City, they had this laptop.
Well, it was known as the Sex and the City laptop, right?
Yeah.
And another thing about it was that it was correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the first black laptop that Apple did.
Well, I guess they did kind of this kind of matte black laptops, but they did the first proper laptop, I think, was 2007. But yeah, it's fascinating to see his laptop. Obviously runs macOS 9, which is prehistoric these days.
So this was in '98. This was when they released the PowerBooks. They were generally considered as the fastest laptops in the world during the lifespan, at least. What are your thoughts, Ian, on this? Compared to what we have today. I mean, you have one in your bag. The latest and greatest. But what are your thoughts on this product and the innovation?
There's a massive nostalgia rush. I love the font as well. So the logo and the font. There's some great stuff on
Apple
that.
Are great at fonts. That was like one of their big
absolutely
USPs.
Beautiful font, and the OS looks great. What's interesting, because I'm a bit frustrated that I didn't look it up. Steve Jobs in a shirt and jacket there. This being a business laptop, I wonder if what his ownership was in the business.
That's a really good point. So this obviously was one of the final evolutions of this style of laptop, but it started off in '97 when he would have just come back to Apple.
Exactly.
So this was not a colourful laptop. It was very much business.
And this doesn't feel like Steve. I can imagine. He's just come back. I don't know what the position is, but he's maybe not in a position of power. The laptop was already, on the roadmaps that needed to be built, and it's like, this is probably not what he wants to do. But that's what he has to do.
Like Steve Jobs, does it? When you look at it.
No, and that kind of fits with the shirt and the jacket. So, obviously it's powerful, but that's talking, as we said before, with the iPod about metrics, not really the use case. Although you have got you put the batteries in, you can go on the business trip.
Yeah.
Pricing wise, this was a very expensive laptop as well.
Yeah, this would be more than £4,000 or £5,000.
So it's not a consumer device. We'll get onto that with the other ones, but they, started to find more of a middle ground where they're providing good devices that most people, or certainly most professionals, could afford.
Yeah. What's your take, David, on the G3?
Initially, we just bought Lenovo ThinkPads for our company, and they don't look too dissimilar to what this looks like now. So even though it was aimed at business, I think from a design perspective, they were definitely onto something. I think the design-wise, it's weird for me because I never saw one of these. I think I was 12 when these came out, so I was definitely not thinking in a business mindset. I've always associated Apple MacBooks or any type of device to always have the trackpad. Because to me, that was always like the defining feature, even on user experience. So for me, it's quite weird to see one of these without it. And yeah, I think you're right. From Steve Jobs' perspective, obviously trying to sell to an audience. One of the things I did read up is that this was a partnership as well with IBM on the chipset, right? So it doesn't sound like they had all that much autonomy or choice to try and get this thing out to market in terms of actually trying to get to the demands of what the demands of these types of laptops would have been used for.
It looks like an IBM computer, right?
It does.
I mean, it's an IBM chip, and it's obviously got PowerPC branding at the top there, and it's bygone era. I think this was Steve Jobs coming in and going, "What are we doing?"
Yeah.
Let's just get this out, and then I can get on with what I want to do.
This is an ad for the G3, and it was showing how maybe Tris, you can probably provide more context on the meaning, but I believe it was like showing like it was thinner, or it was like steamrolling the competition, or
so that's a ThinkPad in the video, and it's just going over all the PC laptops, showing how they're obsolete.
So he's crushing the competition literally, and then but showing on a screen, like you can watch that like on the G3, the new PowerBook. Yeah. So what are your and then Think Different, the Apple logo, obviously the Apple motto coming up, which goes back to what we were talking about with the iPod or the iPhone, in that it doesn't necessarily need to be better, it needs to be different, and that's how they market it, and that's how they get the hype going. What are your thoughts, Tris, on that ad? And I suppose the connection between like the white background in the ad and how they've continued that on throughout every single advert. Because the minute that you see an Apple advert, within 2 seconds you know it's an Apple advert, because they have the white floor, the white ceiling, the white space. It's like that scene out The Matrix where he takes the pill and then he's in left the universe.
Apple World.
Yeah. Maybe Neo is Jobs or something. Or But what are your thoughts on the advert?
I think it's fascinating because if you look at it, the original laptop, Steve Jobs, when he came back, he wanted to rebrand. That was his first priority, and the Think Different campaign came out in 1997. And when he did that, what he was trying to do is it's like, look at who's my actual audience, and it was always the creatives. It's all these people that were disrupting the industry. Yeah. So he marketed at them, and he had Albert Einstein and other famous Jim Henderson, other famous people in posters, and that was their marketing campaign to kind of reboot things. Originally,
they did the Think Different, here's to the crazy ones clip with Steve Jobs' voice rather than somebody else's voice, but they ended up using somebody else's voice, the voiceover, just because Steve didn't want it to be like the ego show, like he's come back and here's what we're doing. But that's like the most iconic advert ever, like here's to the crazy ones and the Misfits, the Rebels. I won't quote the whole thing, I'll sound like an absolute nerd, but what's your take, Ian, on the clip to the advert, the commercial, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's very bold, isn't it? It's taking on the competition, and he's always done that. He's continued to do that in the sense of explicitly or kind of surreptitiously call out how it's better than the competition. Maybe not as brutally as in this video. It's still, although it's kind of his campaign, it still feels misfitting, like you say. Creatives, Wall Street. I don't want to be dismissive of anyone on Wall Street, but it's generally not seen as a creative industry. So very interested to know, what the struggles were like internally for positioning that, and what the sales figures were like. Do you know if they sold well?
I don't think they did. I mean, the main reason I brought the Wall Street today is because it's such a contrast to the products that followed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it wouldn't have been a great seller. It wouldn't have looked that different from a ThinkPad of the day. But even though there was a steamroller going over them, but I think it was Apple trying to market themselves as different before they had the products to back that up.
And maybe positioning that they can do, powerful devices, because they have continued to forward with powerful devices, and then even to today where they've got a chipset which outperforms in many use cases, especially on the creative side. So maybe it was a line in the sand for that.
What's your thoughts, David, on the advert?
Definitely a good way to catch attention.
Yeah.
Especially when everything does look the same. I think it's just a bold move.
Yeah.
I think if you did go in with a plain advert, say like, hey, here's a new sort of device that you can use, it wouldn't have really sold to the masses. And I think he was also really stroking the egos of his target audience. They want to be seen with the best. If it is expensive, they want to walk around with an expensive laptop. It's like it's a power statement.
Yeah, that's true.